welcome to tonight's pre-meeting of February 24th. Any reports?
Yeah, I actually went to that pop-up swing dance, and that was really, really fun. And then I did the CML legislative workshop, and then CML, the meeting was the next day, so I did that as well.
Cool. And how did dance lessons go?
It went really good. We had another counselor that was
It brings a smile to your face.
Yeah, like my favorite thing.
Counselor Committee?
Yes, last week was really busy. I attended the grand opening for Ignite Counseling, which was really great with Counselor Ireland. And then we had Dr. Cog last Wednesday. Mayor Pro Tem Nermella was there as well, so I'll let her give the updates on that. We also had a North Metro Arts Alliance meeting last week, which I want to bring up because the Arts Week is coming up for April, and I'm really impressed with all the planning that's gone into that. And so I just announced that I hope that we can get a lot of attention on it. There's events all throughout the city and in conjunction with Westminster Public Schools, and it's going to be a ton of fun. There's more events than I can list. I also want to say that Colorado Freestyle group that reached out for sponsorship, we ended up turning them down because we hadn't heard of them, but they're based here in Westminster. So I invited them to our North Metro Arts Alliance meeting, and it went really well. They're a really impressive group. They rap, and they're based here, and they perform globally, which is pretty impressive for audiences up to 70,000 people. So and they compete, and so. Anyway, all of that to say is that we might find events here in Westminster to add them into. So I'm really grateful that they came by. And then I stopped by the Kensington Park focus group, and that had a really impressive turnout. There was lots of folks there, lots of great conversations. And we were looking at the possible totem pole replacement or something new. And so I'm just really impressed with city staff and the number of residents that came to that event. We also had our quarterly Front Range Sustainability and Boards and Commissions meeting, which I've mentioned that before, that last year was the first year ever that Westminster's taken the lead on our environmental boards across the Front Range, in conjunction with Boulder, Louisville, Lafayette, Arvada, Thornton, all over. Those environmental groups are meeting and coming together and chatting, and then having conferences on different topics. And this time we talked a lot about going natural and using natural resources in municipal planning and what that means. And so a lot of folks are taking that back to their respective cities and then, throwing those ideas up to council. So that happened at the Butterfly Pavilion on Thursday, and it was a really great event. And then, of course, we had Councillor Hott mentioned the CML legislative workshop. That was extremely informative, so I'm grateful for all the work that CML did on that presentation for this year's legislation. It gave me a better idea about what's going on. I attended CML on Friday, and then this past Saturday, I had my coffee with residents and a really great discussion with a few folks. And I'll just announce for anyone who's interested, 9:30 a.m. And now this year it's at Nava Coffee House, 9:30 a.m., fourth Saturday every month. You can find me there if you want to talk about anything on your mind. That's it.
So I went to Ignite Counseling. I did learn that they have 13 counselors at this counseling center, and they mostly do OCD counseling. We're doing adults, and now they expanded to pediatrics. They've been trained for that. They have 350 patients, they told me right now, but they're still taking more, and they will do remote or in person. They take almost every insurance, so really good business, and I think it's much needed, apparently. I also went to the Front Range Sustainability and Environmental Board meeting. They had a gentleman there that did a presentation. He's from Boulder. He says the most important thing you can do for your city is plant trees. So I've been pro-tree, and that's what he said. You can change the temperature in your city 8 degrees lower by just having lots of trees. I am concerned that the water's got so expensive for some that they can't afford trees, because we've decided to take on this big water treatment plant, which Boulder did not do. They upgraded the one they had for $30 million, and they actually had a consultant from our city that did it for them. So we have an expensive water problem for some of the residents. As you know, many people are taking out their grass, putting rocks. That's actually really bad for our environment. They've stressed that the more diversity you have in plant life, the better it is for your city. And you can change the climate right in a little area. Might not be able to do the whole planet, but you can do it in one area just from trees. So I'm pro-tree, as you know. Anyway, Teacher Appreciation tonight is tomorrow night. If any of you would like to attend, it's a great event. Been doing it for 25 years, so appreciate if you could come, any of you, if you want to. And that's it.
Councilor Dumont?
Attended the Kensington totem pole study session. There was a lot of people there. It was very well done. I will say the feedback I got was most people really wanted to see something with the totem pole, so I'll be interested to see how the sticker process went. We had some folks who showed up to my town hall that was directly after it who had strong feelings about it. So be interested to see how that one and the other study session come out. I also attended the pop-up dance event. It was a lot of fun. I am not as good of a dancer as Councilor Hott. Actually, 2 left feet, but it was a lot of fun, and they even had me dancing. So I already signed up for the next one. It's a very cool event. So kudos to Parks and Recs on that event.
Councilor Mayor Pro Tem?
So last week was Dr. Cog, and I was glad to be joined by Councilor Carmelia. One of the interesting things that was presented was from the Regional Air Quality Council. I know you missed that presentation, but one of the most interesting takeaways was they were showing how during the summer, the greatest contributors to ozone and kind of how they rank. There's like 10, 15 different contributions. And obviously light duty vehicles like our cars are the biggest contributor, but not too far after that was lawn and garden. So from our lawnmowers and a lot of, and really it's to more of the commercial lawn and gardening suppliers. And so it just made me think that while I know we had a lawnmower replacement effort at one point, but also it would be really nice, and I don't know to what extent we can encourage those contractors that we use from the city who have non-gas-powered lawnmowers and other types of whatever machinery that they use. Sorry, I don't ever in the garden. Terrible. But that would be helpful, because if that's kind of like what Councilor Ireland was talking about with respect to doing things on our city level that can help to reduce the ozone. And there are areas where we just can't, like the oil and gas sources are really things that are just right under our vehicles, and that's something that we kind of don't have control over as a city. But there are things like working with our vendors, that would be fantastic to encourage them to be better or lesser contributors. The other thing that we did in Dr. Cog was just go over some of the more recent legislation. I'll highlight 2 of them that had more conversation. One was the RTD transit. I forget the actual number for this one. But it was to, encourage RTD to do a lot of different things like planning, and I mean, I'm sure they do planning, but it has a lot of things in there that are meant to increase frequency and transparency. And Dr. Cog, overall, the staff have some amendments that they are encouraging to keep moving that forward. But so that one was more of a support with amendments. And then the one that, I'm forgetting the number for this one too, I could look for it, but the Regional Planning Commission That one also was brought up, and that had an overwhelming kind of opposition to it because it was seen as kind of vague over what contribution an additional regional planning commission would have in relation to Dr. Cog itself, as well as other cogs, and just what kind of, because it's meant that commission would be trying to help filter all of the different state statutes and standards that have come through in the past couple of years and provide recommendations. But there's, I think, overall just a lack of trust from communities with a state-led planning effort. And so the overall, everybody was opposed to it. And we voted no for local control. But so lots of activity. Oh, yeah.
Mayor, my apologies. I missed one item, which is that I missed that original air quality presentation at the beginning of Dr. Cog because I did end up testifying at the Capitol for House Bill 20, which is tenant landlord rights. And it had a little bit to do with the public comment that we heard a few weeks ago in regards to citizens who were speaking up about conditions at their apartments. And the House Bill 20, I represented myself, but it was essentially putting a little bit more teeth for municipalities to do something about these cases. And it puts a receivership into the bill. So if this were to pass, the city could work with landlord owners essentially and remove them from the process until they could, get themselves together enough to take back over the property if the conditions or if there are repeated violations of standards and regulations. So I just wanted folks to know a little bit about that. Right now, both Dr. Cog and CML, they haven't, as far as I know, taken real positions on that one. And so I represented myself and spoke up for tenants on that bill.
I've shared with Jody that I had a phone call from a developer that has nothing on the plate with us and just wanted to have coffee, and we did. He has a pug, so we had something in common. And his question was, well, they have plans for their piece of property. Somebody else had come and asked if they could buy a piece of their property to put what they want. And he'd never dealt with that, didn't know exactly what to do. So I just took his name and number, gave it to Jody, and I think Jody gave it to economic development. So I told him I would be sharing that. So I'm open about that. I just listened, took notes, and gave them all to Jody. Councilor Azadi did go to Jeffco EDC, and I was there as the alternate this time and knew more people than I thought I would from my past hauntings. And great meeting, and we met at the Google office in Lakewood, so that was fun, and got to see former Councilor Alberto Garcia, and so that was a good meeting, and we got a tour of their place. And I just want to say that he gave great kudos to Jody and staff for working through all of the pieces and parts. And they know that they're a little bit different than what other people do, but that Jody really helped lead the team to get all that worked out. And they will be here to put fiber in our city. So that was good news. I had another phone call from the CEO at St. Anthony's Hospital at 144th, and she asked me if it would be okay to send a gift basket. And I said, well, to whom and for what? I said, I think there's no rules about that. And John Burke and is it Jacob Casa? Were two of the key people and their teams that had worked with the hospital as they're trying to keep people in their rooms, do rehabbing, all of the things that are moving like this. They all worked ahead of time so that when X was ready for here and Y was ready, they just kept going. And so they got it done. And she just was so excited about that. She said, we just want to send something that says thank you. And I told her that I thought that would be beautiful. Again, I sent that to Jody so that he would know how his staff is being looked at. We had Mile High Flood District last Thursday. And then today I spent 2 hours showing a reporter what we had planned from 2001 till present around our TODs, fast tracks that we still don't have, and how he was wanting to know how the laws that were passed and why we felt the way we did. And I said, Andrew Spurgeon went with me, and he just shared that in everything we've done, the law did not incorporate our TODs in any calculation. And so he could see, because we started at downtown, and I said, envision this flat ground, nothing built. That's what we had. Then we knew to be a sustainable city. And I explained it to him, and he goes, oh, fiscally. I said, yeah, because we have to run a balanced budget. We're not like the state, and we can't be over. We run, and it has to be tax dollars on sales tax are our main thing. So we had to look at what we needed. I showed him down south in historic Westminster where the Walmart went, shared that went to the voters. It went all the way. They had processes. We followed every single one and had 2 a.m. meetings for I don't know how many weeks, and the voters voted on it. I then took him to the TOD, and he says, well, nobody's walking around. I said, look at the parking lots. Everybody's at work. And he said, well, you have a train station here. I said, it works once an hour. They have to get to work. And so we shared what's on the calendar with economic development and whatnot. Then we went to the promenade, shared all of that area, all of the apartments there. Then we went way up north to the orchard and showed him all of that, showed him the apartments there, shared what the orchard does to make community and have things right there with farmers market and the concert in the summer and all the things they do all year round. And then I took him back to downtown and said, we tried to find a developer. They never had a vision that we had. And so we've done it ourselves. And Andrew was able to explain some questions that he had. When he left after 2 hours, I brought him back to City Hall. He said, not much more than I wrote last time. So I don't know if that's a good thing because I didn't give him any more information to, he did ask a couple times if we were going to sue the state. I said, no, we can talk things through, but there's things in the law that are local control. You've got to understand, I will live and die over local control. And every time you try to pick a piece, you're taking a piece of somebody's heart until we don't have a heart. And then you people will have to deal with, the state will have to deal with the cities and run them. And we're not all cookie cutters. Because he kept saying, well, like downtown, they had this. I said, then people can live there. But the people that live here don't want that kind of density. And each city, and I pointed out Golden and Arvada and Northglenn and I said, we all have differences. If people hate open space, they will never land here. But I said, if they want this or that, they'll go here and here. It's about choice of where people live. So anyway, Andrew was very kind to go for 2 hours. I don't know. That's just what we did today. Do you have anything for it?
Not for pre-meeting, Mayor. I would just confirm that we will not be doing the Finance Department budget presentation tonight because of a staff illness, and that will be rescheduled for our next meeting. And I do want to confirm that we will be conducting the executive session on the Woman Creek parcel this evening. That's been on the agenda a couple of times and rescheduled, and tonight it is on, and we will have that discussion at the end of the evening. And everything else, Mayor, I'll update in chambers.
I did have one quick question on the CDBG efforts, and it was on the, as we do outreach, I'm just curious if we're going to focus on or utilize folks that are in the community already and make sure that we're hearing from people. So, you know, utilizing Growing Home and others. I know I keep mentioning use of community navigators and people who help us get input, but I think this would be a good opportunity.
Yeah, so we are going to be holding, Stephanie Troller, Economic Development, excuse me, we are going to be holding a stakeholder input meeting within Adams County and Jefferson. We'll invite Jefferson County as well because Adams County is also doing their consolidated plan this year. So we're going to invite Brothers Redevelopment, Growing Home, all the participants in Adams County and Jefferson. The short answer.
I had the same things with Jody on my one-on-one because I know sometimes there's only 2 or 3 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm hoping, yeah, I'm assuming that Growing Home will bring us some additional input from their members versus, yeah, it's hard to actually hear from people who are really busy doing multiple jobs. And so that's why I keep asking.
You want to go over NLC?
We can try. Yes. Okay. Cody Erb will walk us through our prep for our NLC conference.
Good evening. I think you all have had emails from me at least weekly, sometimes more often.
And we appreciate it.
So this won't be anything new for you, but I wanted to go ahead and give you a hard copy of the schedule as it currently stands for National League of Cities Congressional Cities Conference. And and share with some news today. We learned a little bit about the Hill Day. We did promise travel packets tonight, but decided with the Hill Day information, we would pause so that whatever decisions are made tonight, your information is most current. This is just an opportunity for you all to look at the schedule to see if you have questions. For those who've been in previous years, if you have any words of wisdom or suggestions, recommendations, wanted to provide the opportunity to talk about that. And the very last page I just sent around is also draft talking points for our lobbying visits. Those will continue to be updated until we actually arrive on scene. So I wanted to make sure you at least had a starting point there. What we learned for today about Hill Day is that we're one of the cities that have federal lobbyists who have scheduled visits throughout the conference. So the option is that we wouldn't have to attend the Hill Day. There's still an option to attend the Hill Day as a registered attendee. We're put in groups with others from our region and broader, so they're not as direct. They're more broad interactions and not as direct. But there are 4, I believe, that with our representatives that are just for the city of Westminster. So it's an opportunity if I think Councilor or Mayor Pro Tem, you're leaving on the 12th anyway. So just if anybody wanted to adjust the schedule, we wanted to be able to provide you those opportunities.
And I just have to say the CML does a great job doing that one breakfast the morning of the 12th. Everybody that we want to see will be there, and there's long enough time to ask questions, and it is really a good setup that they do. So anybody that's still there the 12th, I would encourage to go. For the rest of the time, Saturday is just really if you want to take a class. That's their university that they call it. On Sunday, they have things that if you're on one of their boards and committees, that's most of that day. That evening, CML at 6 o'clock has a Colorado reception, which is always fun to see everybody that's there. And then Monday starts the actual conference. And all I can say is general session, like on that Monday from 8:30 to 10. Always great speakers. They bring all points of view. Sometimes people that have a different point of view than me, I get the most out of because it makes me think. And those are always very good to attend. The rest of it is workshops that go deep in their big rooms. So It isn't a matter that you have to sign up or anything. You just will have a packet or something will show us. If they probably have an app where it tells where each of these are going to be so that you can find it. And so it'd be like any conference. And you go to those. And then we have in blue, like on Monday at 1:30, we have a meeting with Congressman Pedersen's congressional folks. And then in the afternoon, we'll probably be a few minutes late, but we get back for the afternoon general session. I just can't explain enough. Those are great. And then you just pick from the workshops. When we get there, if we see each other for breakfast or whatever, it's sort of fun to see what everybody's going to do, because if everybody picks something different, we get more input from what's being thought of. And the great thing is these conferences, you're getting input from across the country. It's just not Colorado. So it's excellent. You're going to learn a lot. In the evening at 6:00 is a reception for the Western Municipal Association, and we're encouraged to attend that. Then Tuesday, they have some of our days set up there for going. CML has the lunch on the hill. Again, we'll be in Hickenlooper's office at 11:45. So depending on where he's at and we can run over to this thing. So it's sort of free flowing, but there's plenty to do. Remind everybody going that you do have the obligation of reporting out what you did, so that community knows. And then on Wednesday we have that breakfast from 8 to 10, and CML will have the bus ready to take us down. They drop us off, and then we return either through Metro or whatever. So
Is it still possible though to do some Hill Day?
Yes, you're still welcome to join the activities that
Do that for a little bit.
I did get an email. The first email said you had to be there till 4 to 10. The last one I got said 2.
we sent 2 today.
Yeah.
So, yes, they said, we'll see if others come. They did say that if our city had contracted a lobbyist and had already scheduled meetings for us, that they'd like us to say for no. But I think nobody's going to be policing it whether that you are or not. I think it's a great opportunity. Again, having your colleagues from other people in the region meeting with the representatives is always a good experience.
So to get to like Congressman Pedersen's office, do they have a bus that takes us, or do we? I've not been to one of these, so
we've usually used the Metro.
you can use the Metro.
Metro gets you just about any place you want to go, even from the airport to your hotel.
We'll be lost together. Okay.
I'm certain that NLC will have a schedule of where the things are happening on a scheduled Hill Day. It just hasn't been published yet because those schedules are very hard to get. So once that schedule is released, then we'll be able to say, okay, CML's breakfast ends at 10. We can meet them in Cannon House at 10:30 for that next meeting. So we should join along the way.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just as a follow-up, I think it was the strategic planning retreat had asked about note cards. So we had some facts printed on the back of these lovely Westminster note cards, and we'll make sure to give you a stack of those also, so that when you leave your meetings and when you get back to the town, you can send them to anybody you meet over the week. So
Any other questions, comments? That's one more thing off the list for later tonight, but it's after 7, so we got to go run a meeting. I guess. Welcome to tonight's meeting of February 24th, 2025. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Westminster City Council meeting of February 24th, 2025. We appreciate your attendance and would like to remind everyone that our meetings are governed by the rules of decorum, which are posted inside the chamber doors. These rules are in effect during all meetings, including breaks and transitions. To ensure a welcoming and respectful environment, we kindly ask everyone to adhere to the following expectations. No attendee shall disrupt the meeting. Threats and intimidation are strictly prohibited. Audible expressions of support or opposition for any speaker are not allowed. Signs and placards are prohibited inside the chamber, and all attendees must remain seated in the designated seats and refrain from occupying aisles or blocking doorways. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding as we work together to maintain a productive and respectful meeting. If you are here to speak during public comment, please sign up in the lobby. It closes at 7:15. Roll call, please.
Councillor Carmelia.
Present.
Councillor DeMott.
Present.
Councillor Azadi.
Here.
Councillor Hott.
Present.
Mayor McNally.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela.
Here.
And Councillor Ireland.
Here.
That brings us to consideration of minutes of February 10th. Councillor DeMott?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the February 10th, 2025 City Council meeting as presented.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of February 10th. Any questions, changes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. That brings us to public comment. The public comment portion is an opportunity for the public to speak to the City Council. Each participant will have up to 3 minutes. Public comment is not intended to be a back and forth discussion. If you wish to speak about a public hearing item, please hold your comments until that item is called. The city clerk has informed me that we have received 0 emails and 0 voicemails, all of which have been transcribed and posted online. The city clerk, please call the first speaker to the podium.
The first speaker is Melissa Koss.
Welcome.
Greetings, I know how this works now. Greetings, my name is Melissa Koss. I'm a resident of Westminster on the northwest end of Countryside neighborhood. My family lives within throwing stones distance from Westminster Hills. I and my neighbors have been writing City Council since 2017. Yes, that is 8 years. Regarding the traffic and parking issues that we have had related to Westminster Hills. I have worked all the channels. I have emailed council, I've met with city employees, I've requested traffic studies, I've written letters, offered dozens of suggestions, both in writing and in person. I have begged, I have cried, I have screamed. I have even rearranged entire family vacations in order to attend community advisory meetings where my input and feedback from the neighbors as well was ultimately dismissed. We are now going into year 9, and once again this month, the very first weekend of February, we had dog park cars lining our streets. And if this is any indicator of what the summer will be like once everyone figures out it's going to continue to be warm, living in West Countryside is going to be miserable. This council bent over backwards to accommodate every wish, want, and need of every dog park owner within a 50-mile radius of Westminster Hills. And the people living directly adjacent to that area are still struggling with the same safety and quality of life issues that we have been begging you to address for almost a decade now. Do you not understand, or do you not care? During last year's discussions about the fate of the space, you brought all of your empathy to bear on behalf of dog owners. Some of you walked the property and pictured how distressing and painful it might be to leash a dog in nature. Now I'm asking you to employ the same empathy on behalf of those living in the surrounding neighborhoods. I invite you, go back to the dog park. Pick a nice warm morning, maybe this Saturday. Maybe 10:30. Walk into the parking lot off Sims and stand right in the middle. Close your eyes. Listen to the doors slamming. Listen to the cars beeping as they lock. Listen to the dogs barking. Feel the pound in your shoulders when the door slams next to you. Keep your eyes closed for 3 minutes, which is less time than I'm going to talk to you right now. And then imagine, please, standing in your living room with the same noise right outside your window for 12 hours a day, every single weekend and holiday, for 9 months of the year.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I thought we had 5 minutes or
3.
3. Okay. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jim Fenimore.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Jody. Didn't want you guys thinking that I'd died and gone to see Jesus because I hadn't been around for a while. Just been sick. So at any rate, just want to bring up a couple things to you. I'm still wanting to see the project go forward on the 88th to Zunai connection. So still have great hopes for that. Just to show you how much that's important to me is to be a good citizen. When BC Builders was putting in the storm drain coming out of the Upland project at the apartments right there off of 88th, for 3.5 months prior to that, I've been working with Mark, the superintendent down there, to make sure we didn't get into the wetlands, the spring, right there in the park. Well, when they got to work down there, what they do, they got into it by 50 feet. And so I contacted Highland Hills. I ended up getting a hold of Bob Wood, the city inspector. He came down, met me, looked at it, he goes, "Jim, you're right." I thought that I'd been assured that that wasn't going to happen. So I had two choices. It was be a jackass or what's going to be best for everybody. Being the jackass, I would have called EPA. They'd come out, there'd been big fines, they'd have shut the project down, things would have been extended, and big problems. I didn't want to go that way because for the developer, the contractor, or the city. I thought, what's the next choice? I went and got fencing material, went down, and I put a security fence around the part that they hadn't got into yet. Talked to the subcontractor, asked them to stay out of it, and they said, well, now that we know that it's marked off, you've got a fence there, security fence, we'll make sure that nothing else happens. So I'm just wanting you to know that I'm committed to this city, and I'm not out to cause problems. I want what's best for the community. This Zunai to 88th is a safety for the community for fire response and emergency response. So I just want to continue to stay after that. I did have a little conversation with Mr. Ellington and let him know that what had happened, and he said that he appreciated the way I handled it and did it the best for the community and everybody. So that's what I wanted to bring to you. It's kind of old news because this has gone by about 1.5 months ago. But I was down there and I had pneumonia, trying to take care of things for the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Karen Calavity.
Welcome.
Hello. I hate to have to show up here every week, but, as a concerned citizen, you have to speak up. Uplands and their commitment to the community is like yeah, right. They're not committed to the community. They're committed to anything that makes them money or gets them off the hook. The latest is, well, not the latest, but one of the major things here that I'm concerned about is in Planning Commission, they asked to have one of the developments that was going to be kind of mixed use. It was going to be apartments and commercial on the bottom, which actually is true transit-oriented, true pedestrian-oriented design, to have apartments or living quarters above commercial where people can just walk down and take advantage of, like a hair salon or a grocery store or a little whatever. That's the most transit, pedestrian-oriented kind of community you can have, is where people can just walk from one level to the next and get what they need, instead of having to drive or even take a transit to where they need to get stuff. But of course, you know, I don't think they can get subsidies for commercial space, which they can get lots of subsidies these days for living spaces. So that passed through the Planning Commission, that one element, a good start for some kind of reasonable community design is to have, you know, mixed use. And they're doing away with that on the east side of Bedell. And I'm guessing that'll pass with flying colors in the city council chambers too, just like it did in Planning Commission. Also, I want to speak about, you know, the housing and how we're destroying wildlife habitat for human housing, and that's of no concern. We can just bulldoze over, you know, prairie dog burrows, and, you know, well, that's housing for humans, and so, of course, that's justified. And it's sickening. It's sickening that we're so self-righteous as humans to think that all this land, all the resources are here for just humans, and we don't have to have any regard to the wildlife or the natural habitat or other creatures. That's happening over there on 108th and Sheridan, and it's par for the course, and it's sickening to me.
Thank you. The next speaker is Nancy Collins. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Hello. I've never spoken at a chamber before, but I've never felt so compelled to be concerned about something. I moved to Westminster. I guess I got here in October. It'll be 2 years in October. And I live not that far from the police station. And there's car racing. There's loud, really obnoxious. It's like I can hear, it's like the cars are right inside my house. Everybody here knows this. The police know it. And nobody does anything about it. I've ridden the bus from Union Station to, you know, to the park and ride. I've had the bus drivers tell me, oh yeah, we've seen them. They start in Boulder, and then they drive down, and then they turn around and come back. I mean, shut the highway down. Come on, somebody can do something. It's absurd. The other thing is fireworks. There's fireworks that go on sometimes 24 hours a day. I've had the police call me and say, oh, Ms. Collins, we're on the road you called about. Every single person here has their fireworks out. What do you want us to do? So I'll be leaving here within the year. I've hated living in Westminster because of these. It's like there's no concern for quality of life and noise. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I'm not the only one who feels that way about the racing.
The next speaker is Art DeBuse. Welcome.
Madam Mayor, City Council, my name is Art DeBuse. That's close enough. Some people say Dubus, that's okay. Spent 20 years, I was a firefighter, emergency medical technician. Almost 11 years with Federal Heights, a little over 10 years with Southwest Adams County. And I was on Southwest Adams County when that train crashed on underneath the bridge there, Wadsworth Boulevard. And myself and others from Southwest, we went over and helped man your station, so I know how cities can work together, interagencies, and I will appreciate that. One of my concerns is 88th Avenue in Zuni. You've got a development going on, going to be a lot of development on this side, mostly Federal Boulevard. But as a first responder, I could well appreciate the advantage of tying 88th Avenue into Zuni. Because as I understand it, Westminster Fire likes to have their response time underneath 4 minutes. And you've got some areas over there that are, I believe, just outside of that 4-minute range, and that tie-in would help improve that and bring it back under that 4 minutes. And so I would like to encourage the city of Westminster, working with the city of Federal Heights, they're going to have a small portion of that, and possibly even Adams County, to improve and tie in 88th Avenue in Zuni for the sake of first responders, police, fire, and emergency medical service. I thank you, folks. Look forward to seeing you later.
Thank you. The next speaker is Craig Russell. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I want to talk to you a little bit about the theft that's going on in the city of Westminster. City of Westminster, and I just want to say, you know, if you steal a little, it's probably okay, right? But if you steal a lot, it's not. But I think even stealing a little is not okay. I think it sets the type of character you are and the integrity that you have. So I wanted to point out that the city of Westminster is being a thief, and it is stealing through the water bills of what they're doing. You had an increase in water, and I understand that we do this, but I thought that increase started January 1st. So if your water bill went from December 15th to January 15th, you should be prorated for the amount of time that you were in December and prorated for the amount of time you were in January. It's pretty easy to do, and they did do it with the water, but they didn't do it at all with the sewer. So everybody in the city of Westminster paid the full rate for sewer for the year 2025, even for the amount that they paid for the used in 2024. They also didn't do it with all the people in the city of Westminster on the water portion. They did it with quite a few people, homeowners, but they didn't do it with any renters at all. All renters paid the full boat amount instead of being prorated for the year 2024 in the month of December. They paid the full amount, which isn't a lot. It's only 16, 18 cents or something like that. But it's the principle. It's the matter. If you're going to steal a little, wouldn't you also steal a lot? And I can't believe that the city of Westminster doesn't have the ability to prorate something and do it properly and be honest with people and treat them fairly. I hope they do that in the future, and I hope they adjust the water bills on this next month to get that taken care of and show their citizens that they are honest. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is John Palmer.
Some handouts that we went for everybody up here before we start. Make sure one gets put in tonight's packet.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'll wait till you all get a copy. Everybody get one? Okay. Cover letter, cover page. That was on next door this morning, one of my neighbors. That's 88th and Federal. That's the Uplands Development. We're not talking 5 gallons of water. We're not talking 10 gallons of water. We're talking thousands of gallons of water being wasted. Now, I do understand it went through the meter and they've paid for it, but that's no excuse to waste a precious commodity. I think that we need to put the hammer down on that. That shouldn't be happening. Next, I need to know, can somebody tell me please, is this a city council meeting or a planning commission meeting hearing? And if you look at the second page, look closely at the bottom there, where it says this Uplands meeting is supposed to be in front of the planning commission tonight. The date's right, time's not, the commission's not. To that I say, shame on Uplands. They should be able to do a better job. This is not the first rodeo. They've done this how many times? It's neglect on their part. Furthermore, if you look at City Code 11513-5, it's the contractor's responsibility to erect this sign, inspect it daily, make sure it's all right, and to send it to the project manager, which I guess would be John McConnell. Why was this not caught? This picture was taken on the 14th. Still looks the same this afternoon. I have pictures from this afternoon if anybody would like to see those. For that reason, I'm asking that this hearing be postponed until such time as they can properly notice the community. And I don't want to hear it was in the window. Yes, it was, but not everybody reads the window. Yes, it was sent out to people within 1,000 feet of the property. That does not include all the residents that drive up and down Lowell daily or that have for the last 10 days. I'm asking that this be put on hold, postponed, tabled, until they can come into compliance with 11513-5. Additionally, I believe that, Jody, there needs to be accountability on John McConnell's part for this, as well as his supervisor, Lindsey Kimball. They make the two of them make in excess of $400,000 a year. This is the best we can get. Either somebody's not following the code or somebody's not doing their job. Quite simple. So again, I'm asking that this public hearing be tabled until such time it can be brought into compliance. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last public speaker. That brings us to City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem Council, I do have a brief report this evening. First, I'd like to thank all the speakers who took the time to come in tonight and speak at our public comment period. Staff does follow up with those speakers who've asked for a follow-up or have given us ideas or suggestions to follow up on. So thank you for all of those, and we will be back in touch with those of you who did request that. First, I'd like to provide an update on our all-new Access Westminster. So the name is unchanged. Access Westminster is the way that most residents and businesses and visitors could file concerns or requests for action by the city. But we've completely overhauled it, and we launched this new overhauled Access Westminster last week. So this is our new one-stop shop for city services. I want to let you know that this is what we refer to as our customer service portal, and it's now an easy-to-use tool for both community engagement and that responsive customer service that we're striving for. It does include an improved mobile app, so if those of you who are listening or here tonight haven't got it yet, just go on the any app store and type in City of Westminster Access Westminster, and you'll be able to get that free app. It's geo-based, so when you're out in our city and you see something that you need to bring to the city's attention, whether it be a pothole or something else, maybe a fallen sign or something in disrepair, you can do that right from your phone, attach a picture, and it'll be geo-located for us, and we'll respond. The other really cool feature of this is we are in partnership with our adjacent jurisdictions. And so if you happen to be in Adams County unincorporated and not know that, it will still work. We will get that request to Adams County, and it happens automatically behind the scenes, and we've already had positive reports that integration with our neighbors is working well as well. So just go ahead and give it a shot, and it should work very well for you. All reports so far are that it is working quite well for our community. Next slide, please. I would also like to announce that we now have our 2025 economic profile produced and ready for everyone to have a look at, and that's our annual profile, and that's the health of the city in terms of economic development statistics, and that supports our local business and economy, having the statistics and data available. So you can get that. There's a QR code here. You can also go to our city website and access our economic development webpage and pull the information up. That's readily available. And we also, at the same time, in that area of our website, can provide other resources. So I would encourage any of our businesses to avail themselves of that resource. There's a wealth of connections that you can get through this link. Next slide, please. I want to update a neighborhood project that's about to start, and that's the lighting upgrades at Countryside Courts. So those are the Countryside Park tennis and pickleball courts, and those lights are going to be upgraded this week. We will announce that the courts will be completely closed during that time. That'll allow the work to proceed safely and also to get it done faster. And the project management team is striving for less than 1 week to get that project completed. So once that's done, it will be ready well in time for both tennis and pickleball season. Next slide, please. Tonight's agenda, looks like the slide's a little blurred. We are going to have, first there are two information-only items, the Community Development Block Grant 5-year consolidated plan and a community engagement plan is in your packet. So that's an information-only memo, and also as well another information-only memo, city positions on legislation being considered by the Colorado General Assembly. So those are both in your packet and available in the public record. Tonight we do have a public hearing scheduled for the Uplands Filing 1, Block 3, PA/A3. And then in post-meeting study session, we had scheduled a Finance Department budget presentation for this evening, but due to a staff illness, we will reschedule that for our next meeting. So we will not be doing the finance presentation tonight. We did also at pre-meeting do the 2025 National League of Cities Congressional Cities Conference briefing. So that's been taken care of earlier this evening. So we really will have one presentation tonight left, and that's mine, the City Manager's Office budget presentation. So I'll go through that, and I'll be joined by Andy Le, our Head of Communications, to walk through that presentation with you together. And then we do close out the evening with an executive session regarding the deed for the city's Woman Creek parcel. Next slide, please. This week, I want to announce that on Tuesday, tomorrow night, the 25th, the Planning Commission meeting is canceled, so no Planning Commission meeting tomorrow night. On Wednesday, the 26th, there is an Environmental Advisory Board meeting right here in the City Hall Pikes Peak Conference Room. That starts at 6:30. And then on Saturday, please all make note of this and let everybody that you know, we do have our annual job fair, and that's happening with the Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Department at City Park Recreation Center, and that runs from Saturday 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and that's for anybody interested in getting seasonal employment with the city in our Parks, Recreation, and Libraries area. I'm not sure that the community knows, but we do hire a lot of seasonal employees for late spring, summer, and fall, and that's a great way for some of our youth to get employed at the city and give it a try. Local government service, get access to what that looks like to work in our open space and our parks, which is very important for Westminster since more than a third of our city is parks and open space. So there's a lot of work to be done in the summer, and I'd encourage anybody interested or you have family members or friends to drop by that job fair and check out the opportunities. Next slide, please. Our next meeting is next Monday, March 3rd, and that's at 6:30 right here in our City Council boardroom. We have a night that's themed around housing and housing opportunities. So it will start with something that City Council has asked me for, and that is a complete report on our rental housing inspection program. Staff has worked to answer all of Council and the community's questions around this program, and you'll find a very detailed report from me on that subject, and that will post with all the others for this packet on Wednesday night this week. So please have a look at that. We've tried to answer all of your questions and talk about what's coming up for that program. We do have some changes coming that we are introducing in that memo. Next up, we will have an update from the Colorado Legal Services Group regarding landlord-tenant legal services program. This is also in response to questions from Council and speakers that we've had here in this chambers regarding the relationship between landlords and tenants in Westminster. And the CLS, or the Colorado Legal Services people, will be here that evening to walk through what they do broadly and also specifically in Westminster, and then be available to answer any of your questions. As noted, we will not be doing the Finance Department tonight. That will be happening, that rescheduled for this meeting on March 3rd, so the next meeting. We also that night will be receiving a presentation from the police chief regarding the police department budget presentation, so that's Chief Hobbert's presentation. And in addition, we will be presenting to City Council possible updates to our continuum of compassion, and this is in how we provide access and resources to our unhoused community in Westminster. And there will be some options for City Council that the police chief will go through in terms of that program. So we will be providing a report as well as some options for City Council to consider. Next slide, please. As always, you can reach me directly at 303-658-2003 or jandrews@westminsterco.gov. And we do have 4 active social media accounts: Facebook, Instagram, X, and Nextdoor. And you can track us on any of those. And of course, always on our city website, which will be completely overhauled and released in March. And I'll get you a date as soon as we're ready to go live. But we're very excited to roll out our new city website. In the meantime, please track us on any one of these 4 platforms. That's all I have, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Mr. Andrews, I had a question about the March 3rd study session. Can we invite the folks that had provided public comment to that study session specifically, and possibly prepare ourselves with some translation assistance?
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for the question. We have, in reference to recent speakers from UNI and also the Atrium Apartments, we've been working with both groups. So we've had direct meetings with the UNI representatives. They will be aware that this is coming up for next Monday. We have already met with Atrium residents. We will have 2 follow-up meetings in March at that building particularly, and we'll make sure that anyone who spoke directly to your question, anyone who spoke that night or an earlier session will let them know that we have this item coming up next Monday, so that they can come and be there for this presentation and discussion.
Is it possible to also have translation assistance at the ready for that one, if we get enough response, or even if it's just one person?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So our practice is to have someone ask for that translation service. At this time, we will pre-arrange for that to happen and make sure that the translator's pre-available, so that folks don't have to ask ahead for that. We'll have them on hand. Okay.
Anyone else? That brings us to public hearings. So first, I would like to ask our Deputy City Attorney, Mr. Graham. Oh, I'm sorry, council comments. Missed something, but I'm going to ask you about the hearing. Council comments. Mayor Pro Tem?
I was trying to go slow, you guys, so I didn't go first. Okay. Thank you. thank you to everybody who spoke this evening. I do have some questions that are based on some of the public testimony. The first was about the countryside neighborhood. I know that parking management came up in all of our conversations regarding the Westminster Hills Dog Park, and I'm wondering if we can get an update on that. Obviously, probably not today, but I know that was an issue that we did bring up in response to hearing that, so I'd like us to pursue that. The gentleman who provided security fencing around the wetlands area to protect it, I want to thank you for doing that, and I'm wondering if there's some way to reimburse that expense, because having a resident go out and do that for our open space area would be, that's well over and above. I really appreciate that you did that. Well, I read my own writing. I was definitely interested to just follow up and have an understanding of how we manage billing at the end of the year for water and sewer. I think we'd all just be curious to hear how that happens and if we can get an answer to the resident. And then I just wanted to note for our community members that council views staff as our team. And when I hear specific team members being called out in public, I think that's, for us who are up here on the dais, that's, this is the part of the team that I think can and should be called out. But any specific concerns that you have, please do send them straight to City Manager Andrews. I'd prefer that, and I think we all prefer that our staff not be singled out, because they are, again, an important part of everything that we set as policy direction. They're there to implement that. And I appreciate pointing out the mistake that was made, and I know that can happen. So wanted to make that point. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Ireland.
Thank you for all that came out and spoke today. Those that did community service, those that are concerned about the dog park, those that are concerned about signage, and I'm not just concerned about signage. It just seems like every project that Uplands have brought forward has been sloppily done. I mean, I heard ice on sidewalks they didn't clear. I've heard we had gross stuff in a cup that they didn't clean up, algae. I mean, when does it end? And how come we don't have any project management of this? And the water spilling forth. Do we not care about the residents around this project? It's ridiculous. All the money that's been spent, and you don't care about the people that live around there. It's not okay. It's got to stop. It's sloppy. It's sloppy work. This is ridiculous, having to sign like this. And I don't know what the legal recourse is, but maybe we do need to wait. I'm waiting to hear. But there's people that have lived there for their entire life. And you have made their lives miserable with your sloppy work. I've had it.
Councillor Azadi.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, first of all, thank everyone for coming out. I have a question, and then I'll give some comments. City Manager, related to the issue on the sewer rate not being prorated, is there anyone from staff that can explain or give some clarification as to what the situation is?
Councillor, thank you for the question, and thank you to Mr. Russell for raising that. Staff will have that looked into, what happened on this billing cycle. We'll prepare a publicly available missive to City Council reporting out on that, and if there are any corrective actions that we need to take, we will take those.
Okay, thank you. And the so first of all, to the resident Melissa who mentioned the parking issues, I think this is really important. I've expressed my opinion on the length of time it's taken for us to see the maintenance plan. So to rewind, 8 months ago is when we were told 1 year is when we would see the maintenance plan for the Who's Dog Park. I would like to see that sooner. I know there's time, there's a consultant that we just got on, and that consultant is going to develop a plan which will include parking. But I would ask, I'm not sure how my colleagues feel about this, but I would ask if we can at least take that piece out and accelerate up. We need to talk about the parking at the dog park sooner than 12 months from now. It's already been 8 months since we said we would figure something out, and I would like to see if we can push that forward. Is that possible, City Manager?
Councillor, thank you for the question. I do have a suggested course of action with respect to Speaker Melissa Koss's point this evening. Thank you, Melissa, for speaking. That area management plan consultancy is almost underway. It does include local and broader, but mostly local stakeholder engagement. In talking to Eric Altsberger, our Acting Director of Parks, Recreation and Libraries today, we're going to recommend that we undertake some local parking measures because this planning work, we want to make sure that there's full engagement, and Ms. Koss pointed out we want to make sure that we have our local community involved in that engagement to make sure we get it right, whatever we do out there. And it's not just parking, of course, it's the management of the whole area. So the short answer is that we will reach out to the neighbors with some more immediate parking actions that we're able to take. And I talked to staff about a couple of those ideas today, and we'll bounce those off the neighborhood first. But we will be able to act on the parking issues in advance of any longer term planning. Anything we do of a longer term nature in the neighborhood with parking, we will want to do carefully because it does impact the neighborhood, and that's our primary stakeholder is our own neighborhood there. And so, but we will be able to take some tactical actions, knowing that we are heading already in the busy season. So we will reach out to you and make sure that we follow up now. Thank you.
Thank you. That's excellent, and that's a great plan. Next. 88th to Zunai, I agree with the commenters. That's a very important connection for fire safety and first responders. So thank you for commenting on that. And related to racing and speeding and the fireworks. So first, I'll start with the question. Do we have a fireworks issue? Is that, that's the second time I've heard this now. I would hope that as these things continue, maybe council will be communicated as to what are we doing to mitigate. But my question, City Manager, is there a growing issue on people launching fireworks outside of 4th of July and these sorts of days? And sorry to keep asking you questions.
Councilor, thank you for that question regarding fireworks. I do not have the police chief here this evening, so but we do have the police chief here at next meeting, and he is presenting on the services of the police department and can answer any questions around the kinds of calls that they're getting, the call load, whether there's any changes in frequency or such related to fireworks. I do know, based on my decade or more with the city, that fireworks is a challenge in the Front Range in general. And it's certainly a hot spot for us in It has been over the years a hot spot for us in Westminster. It's one of the reasons we put on the 4th of July fireworks is to provide a sanctioned, controlled event for fireworks release. But as you know, you don't have to travel far to buy fireworks, and you can bring them back home, and it's very hard for police to act on that. But the chief will have a much better perspective and current situation for you than I'm able to provide tonight. So we can do that next Monday night if that's all right.
Okay, thank you. And apologies for all the questions from me. but I will plan to ask those questions on fireworks. And more importantly, I think speeding and racing is top of mind for me. I know for several of us, we need something done. And I would hope that there are some technology-enabled solutions so that we can scale and not add more humans to the problem, but rather really efficiently handle it, because speeding is a huge issue and it's growing. It's only gotten worse since I've come on here, and we're doing everything that we can. We're ticketing a lot more than we ever have, but I'm just curious if there's more that we can do. So next week in the study session, I'll be asking a lot of questions on speeding, and I'll add in fireworks, so thanks for bringing it up.
Councilor Carmelia?
Thank you. To clarify for what you just said for next week's study session, did you say we're talking to fire or fire and police?
Thank you, Councilor, for the question. Next week is our Chief of Police presenting the Police Department services and budget.
Okay, fantastic. So I was going to ask if we could have a study session dedicated just to speeding. And I was also going to say, I'm sure the mayor will remind us very shortly here that there is an efficient way to report speeding, which I don't remember the...
ReportStreetRacing.com.
Thank you.
Because Friday and Saturday, or Thursday and Friday night from 11 until 3 a.m., no one could sleep.
Exactly. And the whole city was up. We all heard it with you, and I'm sorry. And we're behind you on this. My request was going to be for a study session only around that, but let's just see how Monday night goes, and we'll go from there since we're having the chief in. It just, as everyone else said, without repeating the comments that we already heard, thank you for the comments that we had tonight. Thank you, speakers, for coming in. I know it's taxing, and especially when we don't see progress as quickly as we'd like it. And I'm sorry that some of these projects are time consuming. And so this is just a sincere thank you for coming back and reminding us about what it is that we are working on and should be working on. I was going to share as well that I had just seen an email, I think yesterday, about the area management plan that's underway. And I think we're trying to take action on that as soon as possible, I believe this spring. But I'm going to echo Councilor Azadi's comment that if there's a way to prioritize that, I think that we all we'll see what we can be done, but just know that we're going to be behind any efforts that we can to pick that effort up. And then just on the 88th to Zuni, we heard several comments about this in the fall, I believe. And so I guess my question is, what's our follow-up? Are we working on something already around this? Or, and this doesn't need to be answered tonight, but I'm just curious what it is that we're doing, or do we have a plan around this? And if not, should we be creating one?
Councillor, thank you for the question, and that was raised by two speakers. Mr. Fenmore was the original speaker to raise this quite some time ago. Staff has met with Mr. Fenmore. He's had some really well thought out ideas that staff has been working on. It does involve our neighboring community as well, and so it is active with staff in terms of pursuing that possibility of a connection. The reasoning that Mr. Fenmore and the other speaker provided are it's very sound reasoning for making that connection. So staff is taking a very strong and hard look at that and what that might look like to move forward.
Okay, so it sounds like that's in the works. So thank you for that. And then I think that you're already taking a look at this point about the sewer rates and whether or not that was whether or not residents were not prorated. So we'll definitely take a look at that, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. And then I just wanted to address as well the comment around building on land. This is one of the most important issues for me specifically. I mean, for all of us, I'm sure, but I also want to acknowledge that Westminster, fortunately for us, we have one of the highest percentages of open space versus developed land in any of the Front Range cities. And we do protect that land, and you cannot build on protected open space. Although, to be fair, we just redesignated the who's. So, but that's just to acknowledge that the folks in our community need housing as well, and we are trying to do that as responsibly as possible. And so we're constantly looking for your input and thoughts around that, but just know that we take these decisions carefully, and
to say that we're building where wildlife exists, unfortunately, we have to really strike a careful balance around that and just know that it's always top of mind how we do that. And I think that our city is doing the absolute best that it can to do that wisely.
Melissa, you have been in my mind because 2 weeks ago, somebody emailed me a picture of what Sims looked like, and people were parking in the bike lanes, and a bike could not have gotten through there. And I think it was even a person that wasn't trying to get in the dog park. They just were sharing. They had been aware of all of the conversation and just wanted me to know that what it looked like, and so I passed that on to staff because I'm just grateful for people watching that, because not all of us are up in that area all the time. So I had not heard what we're doing, how we're doing it, because I know at one point we even talked about having special parking just for you all, and people having to have that tag, and I know that's a hassle, but that is one way to get rid of all of this and people to know that. And it may come down to when we know the busy times are, having to have tickets in their windshields or something to allow them there. I don't know what the answer is, but you have been in my head for the last 2 weeks, because I knew when I saw that picture, I thought of you because of all the comments that you made, and we're very open with all of your comments during that process. So you've been heard. I'm sorry it's been 9 years, but we've got to figure something out, and I think our city manager and folks with Eric on board will really take a hard look at that and figure something out that will work for everybody. Drag racing, Nancy, where I live, I have 112th, I have Westminster Boulevard, I have 36th, and I have 104th, and I have Sheridan. And so whoever was, I can usually tell when it's 36 because they stop at the Church Ranch ramp going to the west. They stop, and when the people are behind them, stopping all the traffic or going very slow so that they can race, you can hear that acceleration. The rest of them just screeching everywhere. I put on my streetracing.com report, it could be all of these places, but and I know there's a task force, so they do take those tickets literally, and so when they see a bunch of reports from an area, they get the task force together and work on it. Any one of our police departments can't handle it alone. We don't have enough staff, because it can be detrimental to our police officers, with some of them that gather 300 people. 2 officers can't go handle that. They just can't. It's not safe for them. So I have heard from some of our officers when they do the busts of street racing, and then it quiets down for a week or two, and then they show back up. So we know it's there. I'll be anxious to hear if the chief has any other thoughts of how they're working together collaboratively, because it isn't just in my area. I don't care if I talk to somebody that lives down at 72nd and Federal, or if it's up at 144th. Everybody's got street racing, and it's in every city. So I just... it's at times when I wish the gas prices were $7 a gallon, then maybe they'd think twice about doing it, but I don't think anything deters them. I agree. And all of the other things have been discussed, and I know, Jody, you're going to take care of. So Councilor DeMont.
Just real quickly, because everybody's covered everything, I would re-emphasize on the parking. So we specifically added, because of the dog park, the initial conversations that go years back, and I think at this point I'm the only one who was part of those initial conversations with Jody and other staff members, why we added parking, so that we had specific parking. So I certainly hope that those folks are out there ticketing, because my message in the council at the time when we first started talking about that, and I think it's continued on with this council, is if it's no parking, then we should sure as heck be ticketing people. And I think that we have seen where, just like with the street racing, when we enforce those things, that we do see curb behavior, but I don't think we can take our foot off the gas with that. We need to make sure that we're doing that, especially as it gets warmer, because I do think we wanted balance in terms of allowing people to use the dog park, but also addressing the concerns of the community. And I would like to hear, again, when we go through the management plan, are we still looking at that? I know that at the time, for those of us in the neighborhood, we know that by the high school, they have a similar thing, which, we would have to, do some adjustment to use that same kind of thing. But if this continues and that portion doesn't get better, I think we need to seriously look at that.
Councilor Ireland?
I'd like to ask Deputy City Attorney Graham about the signage and what the legal recourse is there for not giving proper notification to the public, the Uplands project.
So it would be my recommendation that the hearing be postponed. I don't want to get into my specific legal opinions on this, but I think it's better to postpone, have the notice be done correctly and properly, and then reconvene at a later time.
Councilor DeMott?
I just wanted to see, is it postponed or tabled? Does it matter?
It doesn't really matter. It's essentially the same thing. We haven't opened a hearing, so we don't need to continue it to a date certain or anything like that.
Perfect. So I'd like to make a motion that we table it until a date certain that they can fix the signage issue and do proper posting.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to table item 10A, the public hearing and consideration of an official development plan for Uplands Filing 1, Block 3-PA-A3. Roll call, please.
Councilor Carmelia?
Yes.
Councilor DeMott?
Yes.
Councilor Azadi?
Yes.
Councilor Hott?
Yes.
Mayor McNally?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Nurmela?
Yes.
And Councilor Ireland?
Yes.
The motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
And do we have reason for executive session?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we do. We have a proposed executive session to consult with the city attorney on legal issues involving the deed for the Woman Creek parcel pursuant to Westminster Municipal Code sections 111.3C 3 and 8 and Colorado Revised Statutes section 24.6402.4b, and to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, develop strategy for negotiations, and instruct negotiators pursuant to Westminster Municipal Code 111.3C7 and Colorado Revised Statutes section 24.6402.4e.
I will ask each counselor if you agree, give your name, and that you will go into executive session.
Izadi, yes.
Claire Carmelia, yes.
Dave DeMott, yes.
Nancy McNally, yes.
Sarah Nurmela, yes.
Amber Hott, yes.
Christine Ireland, yes.
It is 8:02 and this meeting is adjourned. February 24th, 2025. Manager Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor. Aaron Ferreter's here this evening to introduce, as we have the other budget sessions, and then I will begin the presentation, and then Andy will finish it with our communications portion.
Okay.
So Aaron Ferreter, Policy and Budget Administrator on the stand-in for this evening, so thank you for your patience and grace. Mayor Pro Tem and Council, thank you very much for your time. Tonight's presentation on the City Manager's Office's goals and operations follow the same structure as the last 4 presentations. This was an intentional approach to build each presentation to set the stage and foundation for building and developing our 2026 budget. So with that, turn it over to City Manager Andrews.
Thank you, Aaron. Next slide, please. So the City Manager's Office has 2 primary roles. First is to help guide City Council's vision and put its policies and directives into practice. That includes the vision, the mission, and the guiding principles, as well as the strategic plan and strategic plan priorities. And that we do that by turning policies and directives into tangible action, while also offering policy recommendations and alternatives to City Council on a weekly basis on Monday nights. The office also offers leadership and administrative guidance, along with strategic communication and engagement support to the city departments. And so through my 2 deputy city managers and myself as well with the chief of police, we provide direct leadership with all of the city department directors. Next slide, please. So the City Manager's Office budget and staffing, we're currently comprised of 2 main groups, and this is different. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this. You'll see a big difference from 2024 to 2025 in the City Manager's Office staffing. Similar to other departments within the organization, we've been very strong on regularly assessing ourselves for efficiency and effectiveness. And this, I believe, is evident as we review the changes in staffing and the associated budget assigned to the City Manager's Office, particularly as we moved from 2024 to 2025. So what you see in this table is a significant reduction in the City Manager's Office from 59.6 staff to 16 staff. And that is primarily the result of a reorganization to streamline and greatly reduce the size of the City Manager's Office. And I'll talk about that specifically. In 2024, we had 6 work groups in the City Manager's Office. Our administration group, which is still here but reduced, and I'll get that in the next slide. The City Clerk's Office, the communications section still here, and that's the second of the 2 remaining of the 6 work groups in the Manager's Office. City Hall Operations, the Municipal Court, and the Policy and Budget Office. So from 24 to 25, the City Clerk's Office, City Hall Operations, the Municipal Court, and the Policy and Budget Office were removed from the City Manager's Office. And we are, I'm now down to a very lean team, and I'll describe specifically where the remaining staff are in the City Manager's Office. And the next slide, please. So we are comprised of 2 groups, administration and communications. Those are the only 2 remaining groups in the office of the City Manager, and in 2025, reduced the staffing from 9 for our administration to 6. So we are now down to the City Manager, that's me, 2 deputy city managers, an assistant to the City Manager, that's Cody Blue Herb, and 2 executive aides that support the City Manager and the 2 deputies. So we share effectively 2 aides between the 3 leadership positions. Between 2024 and 2025, the Chief of Staff, so Chris Lindsay, and his executive assistant were also moved out of the City Manager's Office, reducing my 9 to 7. And then, as you know, part of my taking on a City Manager role was my commitment to you to eliminate permanently the 3rd Deputy City Manager position. And that shows up here in the 3rd reduced position. So the City Manager's Office is now, on the administration side, there are 6 of us. If I could have the next slide, please. So that is reflected in the City Manager's Office budget. So a reduction from 2024 from $2.2 million to $1.75 $5 million, and those are reflected in your budget sheets. And Aaron would be able to help me on any specific questions, for example, about what that other item is and our capital outlay. If you have any specific questions, and I'll take all of those at the end if you don't mind. I would note in the next slide, yep, thank you. So the City Manager's Office Administration, the priorities for 2025 are to manage the city organization with a renewed focus on customer service and community engagement. And this is a big focus with me and the leadership team, as well as we've now engaged with our division manager leadership team on enhanced and looking at how we engage with our community differently. And I can tell you that I greeted about 24 new city employees last week at City Park as part of our quarterly onboarding of new employees. And we're also hitting very directly community engagement with our new employees and how to identify who our stakeholders are, how to go directly to those stakeholders, get their input, and then how to act on that input. And so it's a big focus for 2025 and forward. And also, as I hope you see, my commitment to you to enhance communications and relationships between City Council and city staff. And we've done that, and we'll continue to work very directly on that, including directors in workshops with you on the budget, including these evenings where we have each director coming to you and presenting their department, where their money goes, where their staffing goes, and have them able to answer all of your questions. And that's all a building block for our 2026 budget process. It also helps us immensely when we work on our community engagement efforts. And as was said at the dais tonight, we view the leadership team at the city, supporting City Council, working together as that greater, broader city leadership team. And so, it's what was said at the dais, any personnel matters I will deal with directly. And I always encourage members of the community to approach me on those matters, and we do follow up. And then everything else of a policy and budget nature, City Council provides that direction. I also want to state that our third priority in the City Manager's Office is to create a positive workplace culture where employees have the tools and support to deliver high quality core services. And this is a big focus. I think you've hopefully seen the changes to our IT support, that we are really paying attention to the tools that we're giving our community members as well as our staff to help increase transparency and accountability. I would like to take the time to point out that based on the strategic plan and our budget, staff has created an online performance measure tracker for all to view, so our community as well as City Council and any other staff members. And the website can be found at westminsterco.gov/transparency. And that's online and available right now. And anyone interested in doing that just selects View Citywide Performance Measures. And that's a tracking of how we're doing. And it's an accountability and transparency tool that we encourage the community to use, access, and let us know what you think. Next up is the second of our two remaining sections in the City Manager's Office. And I'll turn it over to Andy Lett to lead us through the City Manager's Office communications.
Thank you, Jody. Andy Lett, Communications Manager for the city. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and councilors. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight about the role of the Communications Division and how our work directly supports the City of Westminster's strategic priorities. Our mission is simple but critical: to ensure that residents are well informed, engaged, and connected to their local government. We achieve this through transparent, accessible, and proactive communication, utilizing digital platforms, in-person engagement, and traditional media outreach. As outlined in your strategic priorities, we know that strong community engagement, trust, and customer service are key to achieving our shared goals. By launching a new city website, expanding our digital engagement tools such as Access Westminster, and a new digital engagement portal that we hope to roll out by the end of this year, and increasing in-person outreach through town halls, listening sessions, community advisory meetings, we're not only improving accessibility, but also creating more opportunities for two-way dialogue between residents and their government. Last year at our city council budget retreat, city council asked us to be in more places, and to meet people where they are. And we believe we're working towards that. We've made significant strides towards those goals. Ultimately, we want to make sure that every resident, whether they are engaged online, in person, or through traditional media, feels heard, informed, and empowered to participate in shaping the future of our city. Pardon me, I'm getting over a cold, so I'll be doing this for a couple of times tonight.
Do you need some water? I can go get you some water.
Okay. I wish I just had water. We achieve these goals through four channels, through four lanes of work: digital engagement, which means expanding resources, making customer service experience better. We've heard from the community and from council, the website could use some work. So we will roll out a brand new website that's ADA accessible, that meets the Colorado and federal guidelines for accessibility later this month. It will be much better than what we have, and it will be mobile friendly. It will work on your mobile devices and your iPad. We're pretty excited about it. We have a new Access Westminster that will be mobile friendly. It will work on your phones, which is where people do things. We are going to roll it out through Pothole Palooza. We really think that this is the way to communicate customer service and how much we care about people and our residents through these tools. Having said that, we also recognize that there's a significant part of our community that would prefer paper, that would prefer mailers, and that's one of our biggest areas of growth. In addition to the 65,000 quarterly magazines that we mail out, we've also, and this is, we've heard loud and clear from Mayor McNally, we need to send out more mailers. So when we have community meetings that are high need, high touch, like Westminster Hills, we have mailed mailers to the Westbrook and Countryside community. For Sheridan Green, we've done similar things. We're trying to be much more intentional about it. I've personally gone and knocked on doors around Sheridan Green about Big Dry Creek. Those are the sort of high touch things that we want to do for our community. We want to be there on social, video, web, but also in person. Pardon me. Next slide, please. And then our biggest priorities for this upcoming year, we front loaded a lot of our digital engagement work to start this year, at the start of the year, so we can transition into our busy summer season where we're going to have a lot of events, both for council and which will obviously support, but it also lead some more in-person community engagement meetings led through city staff. The direction that we've heard from both Jody and from City Council is more community engagement, more of everything, and we have attempted our best to balance the needs and direction of our city to be in more places, more spaces as often as possible, while also providing a high quality customer service experience for our community. With that, I would welcome any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Andy. I was wondering, so I was just taking a look at the performance measures site, and so it's really cool that we have that, But B, I'm not seeing an engagement page yet on here, so I'm assuming that's still to come. But it would be really helpful to have those measures. I know I've asked before and encouraged us to kind of track who are we reaching. And I'd like to be able to, at some point, more confidently say, like, who are we hearing from? And so I leave that with you as a, maybe not a question to be answered right now. But if we can get closer to being able to answer that and be confident that we are hearing from a wide swath of our community. I know that you're trying to create a lot of diversity with, Access Westminster and paper mailings. And I know we have a language access plan and are diversifying languages. But again, it's like what's effective and are we able to reach people? And, I love the fact that we do have people coming from, the community that are, unable to speak, English and need translation. And because that makes me feel like at least they feel comfortable coming here. But how do we continue to encourage that and track how we're doing with that?
May I ask a follow-up?
Mm-hmm.
We have the ability to really get down to a granular detail about who we talk to and who talks to us.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a balance that we try to weigh between resident privacy and the government access to data. Mm-hmm. So, truth be told, there's lots of privately available, whether it be voter roll data, consumer data that we could purchase. I'm a little hesitant to get down to that granularity with geolocated information. For example, with Access Westminster, when people submit tickets, we're going to tag it based on geography. Would we be able to extrapolate data through geography about who we're talking to? Would that meet the need of council without incursion into the private data space?
Yeah, and I totally understand the limitations, or at least some of the complications with smart cities and trying to use technology and where you keep that data and all that. I think geographic diversity is great and helps share the story, but I also think getting demographic information when we can is also important. And I know there's sometimes a reticence to ask for that, but if you make it voluntary, people can decide whether or not they want to share that. And I've been on the community engagement side myself. I ask the same questions, and that's all I'm doing is just sharing the same questions that I ask myself and have asked my teams and stuff. So it's an ongoing conversation, and I just, I know we have a diverse community, and I just want to make sure that we're continuing to serve it.
I see your hand.
Yeah, just thoughts on the same topic. Is it possible on the surveys that we send to the community to have the voluntary, maybe just 3 simple questions, volunteering demographic, age, gender, and, ethnicity? A lot of surveys take in that basic information, and then we can kind of get an idea from there. And if they choose not to, we have the option for them to not to. That's just an idea if we like that.
Councilor Ireland?
I do like that you care about privacy. I had a rumor that there's a bill at the state that will be able to track everyone in the state wherever they are. So that is a concern for me, privacy, and the state be able to track everyone, what they're doing all the time. So if that bill comes to us, you know where I stand. Thank you for caring about privacy. Also, Jody, thank you for bringing the budget down of your office. I appreciate that. I wish every department could do that. And there's probably departments that could. Just from what I'm hearing, I know some that can't, but I've heard some that we probably could. So I'll talk to you about it on Thursday. Thanks.
Yeah. Along those same lines, 37 to 16 FTEs is quite a significant change. And so I guess my question is how has that changed the workflow for the city manager's office? Because, that's almost 40 people to like 16. And so I assume that a lot of those people had important jobs or projects or things that they were working on. So how has it changed the workflow for the city manager's office?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor, and Councillor Ireland as well. Thank you for your feedback. So this organizational change reflects a fundamental difference in leadership approach at the city. This is something I've been working on very directly with the deputy city managers, that we are leading the city at the executive level. And my work, is as a contract employee to city council, and the two deputies oversee directly the department directors. It means that the deputies are not in the details, that they're in the executive leadership roles for this city. The directors lead their departments. And I think you see that when they come in this room and present their departments and their budgets to you and answer questions. So it's a very different style of leadership than what we've had in past years. And so the leaning down of the manager's office has been in a big part driving that change and supporting it. That we're here to lead the organization. We're not here to get into the details with the departments. We know all the details. That's our jobs. But the department directors land their departments. They have the responsibility to run their departments. I would say that's the most fundamentally different directions. The policy and budget office still exists, and it works under the chief of staff effectively as its own department. And again, in keeping with that lean down executive leadership function, the role and mandate of the chief of staff and the policy and budget team is very clear, and they function as a department in that sense. So it's really a leaning down and a refocusing on what it means to lead the city and what we're paying attention to, because it drives efficiency of decision making. It drives an action-oriented culture, I believe. And it drives results for the community, because that's what we're focused on now. We're focused on the community and community engagement and how we're providing the core services that we're entrusted to provide. Hopefully that
was fantastic. That was great.
Councillor Zadi, do you have
I
anything?
just want to say thank you for the presentation and thank you for all your hard work, and to all of staff.
Councillor Dumont, do you have anything?
No, just thank you for the presentation. It's good to see all that work come to fruition. I know there was a lot of hard work and communication about what you were doing with the council. So nice to see the structure where it is.
Councillor Carmelia.
Yeah, I'm wondering how we will look at the budget this coming year in the apples to apples scenario. Can you just expand on? I mean, it won't be, right? So just wondering what that'll look like and how we evaluate it.
moving into the 2026 budget.
Or 20, yes, exactly.
That is a great question, and Aaron, I think, is going to help me with that one.
Can you provide a bit more context of apples to apples so that I can have a better understanding?
Right. So it's easy for us to say that maybe we saved money here because we are looking at this one department, but we're going to need a pretty good idea of where all those folks went in the other departments. And so I assume that we're tracking these things, but I'd rather not assume and just ask about it. You know, how will we track the budget this year over last year, or this, and for into the coming year, both for resources, employees, for contracts we signed, for all the different line items that we saw. How are we looking at that? And I know that there was a lot of change, you know, over the past 2 years as well, and I'm not sure how they did it or if they did track those, but I would hope that we are tracking, you know, our spending overall.
Absolutely. We track it down to the line of every single of where we are, and from the lines to from the first slides, the category level. So yes, we are comparing of what we spent, what was asked for, what was budgeted versus what was actual, what that delta is, and then what is the ask again for the following year? Is it just a standard, as we talked about in our first presentation with Chris Lindsay? Is it just a default that they've always asked for $10,000, but they're only spending $3,000? So yes, we are taking a look at that granular level, and then working with the departments to empower and engage them on making sure that they're asking for what they need, or if they have shifted and reorganized and reprioritized, and now potentially utility billing is more of a priority versus utility line check. Maybe those dollars don't need to be in one budget, but they need to be in another to allow them to be more effective. So starting us off with having the dollars where they need to be rather than shifting them around or doing budget revisions. So we definitely track it. And as we go through our budgets, we can discuss what level, at the category level of where we've been and where we've spent as we're year end for 2024. So we're in that funky time period where we're straddling 3 years. We're closing 2024, living into 2025, and already talking about 2026 and even 2027. So once 2024 is closed out, we'll have a really solid idea. We're still buttoning things up in finance, and Deputy City Manager Dorr will speak to that more next week during his presentation of that process. And then we'll figure out really what that gap would be, look at where we're going with 2025, and then figure out really every year we're getting closer to what we need versus just the standard of, we've always asked for 30s, keep on asking for 30 of what's the actual expenditure. And there's sometimes where a department needs more and another department needs less. And this is also an opportunity that with City Manager Andrew's leadership of, we're looking at this as an organization and not just my money is this department and my money is that. So the structure within the city manager's office is helping to guide that. So we're looking at it collaboratively and collectively. So we're effectively using the resources of the community. Does that answer?
Yeah, can I add also, Aaron, thank you. Really great description. So one of the big outcomes for staff of having the department presentations and discussion with City Council is we're listening to your questions. We're hearing where you're probing our directors, and we're listening to your commentary as you get the information that you're seeking. And so a big drive that's being accelerated for you into the 2026 budget process based on your questions, and a lot of the feedback is repurposing positions before we ask for a new position. And what you can hear from Aaron is that we are now looking at that repurposing both intra-department as well as inter-department. And so that's a big exercise, and that's being baked into the work that we're doing now across the departments as we work through our briefings with you. The other thing, and you'll see an example of this next Monday night with our rental housing program, we're also looking at existing staff and cross-training existing staff as a way to provide additional service without adding staff. And so in our rental housing program, for example, we're looking at very soon effectively doubling our inspection capabilities, not by adding any staff, but by cross-training existing staff in the same department, which is capitalizing on a reorganization that we've done to help drive those kinds of efficiencies for us. And so I just want to say that that's a big baked-in drive for us too. We hear City Council, we hear our community, and especially with changes and people losing their jobs in our own community, we're really paying attention to how we're doing what we're expected to do and how we can do it differently. And I think a great example that comes to mind is when Acting Director Eric Alzberger was presenting around parks, recreation, and libraries, right? And what Aaron just said, not assuming or taking the pathway of always doing it the way we've done it, but to look at it and say, well, maybe we ought to rethink how we design and build a park. That will inform how we have to maintain that park, which doesn't then inform how we staff ourselves. And so those are all things that we're baking in, but it builds into it. It will make the apple-to-apple tracking challenging because we are changing at a rapid rate and evolving quickly and nimbly to repurposing positions. Erin is the person that's going to pull that off for us with her team.
It's a collective.
It's a collective. And I can tell you that Erin is extremely rigorous and diligent with how we go from a line item to line item comparison for you. So we'll work together on that and make sure that it's clear.
I did learn that in my one-on-one with you last year, so I believe that. Not really question, but follow-up item is for the community engagement piece around our new website. I am sure that this will be announced in several avenues, online and on the website itself. But this is one of those rare issues that I feel like genuinely affects almost every single resident in our city. And so many folks have come unprovoked and mentioned it, at least in my life. I'm wondering if we, like, what are our plans around announcing it? Can we make it a little bigger so that everyone knows about it? I realize it's something digital, but maybe you already have plans. But what if we did like a grand opening for our website, per se?
We have a communications plan laid out. The website will go live. I'll just say the date, March 18th. I was really hoping not to.
Scary to say that. I know. We'll
yeah. And this is my 4th web migration, and it always goes to plan. It'll be March 18th. As part of that rollout, all the social media stuff, the website stuff, all that makes sense. We'll email 60,000 residents about it. There's also an ad within the magazine that's also timed to go out the week before. So all of our channels will be pushing out the website. But more importantly, I think the way that we ensure that people use our community uses the website is by making the website good and making sure the information is good, and people will come. No amount of telling people about something is going to do or mean much if our website continues to not deliver the high quality customer service that you deserve.
Right. Okay. Just curious. I would totally cut a ribbon at the council if it was up to me, but you think about it. Yeah. People care about this a lot.
Anyone else?
I would just give a shout out to former Councilor Emmons because she's been harping on the website for a long, long time. So if she's listening, I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that day.
Thank you so much, both of you, all three of you, for sharing with us.
Thank you for your time.
And Andy, I hope your cold gets better.
I want to thank Andy for being here tonight. He has a heck of a journey, and I appreciate him sticking with us. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Does anybody need a break before we go to exec session? Do we have reason for executive session?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we do. I'll note that the time is 8:43. This is an executive session to consult with the